Now, we know you enjoy this program. You've heard Howard Lyman here many times here on BAI discussing this issue, and now he is seen by millions and heard by millions now across the country. And hopefully, they won't. We will not censor Howard Lyman from these airways. We won't call. You won't get a call 2 minutes before the program. At least we hope not. And saying that Howard cannot appear on BAI because he might defame New York beef. 212-279-3400. So give us a call right now and pledge your support to WBAI, listener-sponsored free speech radio. And as you heard from Professor Francione, there are laws around this country which are calling for, have been passed in many states. Indeed, the Texas Agriculture Commissioner, not Jim Hightower, who was the former Agriculture Commissioner of that state, he wouldn't have called for this, but the present Agriculture Commissioner actually called for Howard Lyman to be sued and to be prosecuted under the food disparagement laws of Texas. Now, can you imagine this? He could be thrown in jail for he could be maybe 20 years for saying that that mad cow disease is run rampant here and humans might be affected. Can you believe that? Well, that could happen here. 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. Make a pledge to WBAI. We got a flurry of phone calls.
Shelton, can I just say something
sure,
to Howard, because I don't want him to worry about something. Howard, I just want to let you know we recently succeeded in vindicating the constitutional right of a prisoner to vegetarian food in prisons.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So
Gee, thanks, Gary.
So if it does, in the worst case scenario, if it all goes wrong, we'll be able to vindicate your right to have vegetarian food in jail.
Boy, I'm telling you what, I feel a whole lot better. I'm sure glad I came, and I thought sure you were going to say when they file against you, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to defend you. But no, you're going to send me a veggie burger. Thanks, Gary.
Colin Spencer, I know that the McLibel trial is going on in McDonald's because the libel laws are, well, they may not be all that different than they are here right now, but they are a little different because you don't have a Bill of Rights.
That's right.
But could you tell us, do you have programs like this? Are you able to speak freely about vegetarianism in the media?
Well, I feel equivocal about this. Yes and no. The point is that one should be able to, and I got a kind of feeling that one used to speak more freely some years ago than we do now. Papers, as you know, are ruled by advertising, and there's a hell of a lot on the food pages of advertising by food companies. And editors are a bit nervous about views which are anti-meat. I find that a lot of my journalism has dried up in the last few years because of this. My kind of attitude to it all is too campaigning for them to want to know. So I don't think, we certainly haven't got anything like this program on the radio, and I'm sitting here thinking how marvelous you all are and how we need one.
There's absolutely no doubt that public radio in the U.S. is something that we should defend with our last nickel that's out there, because it gives us the opportunity of saying the things that are not real popular on stations that are supported by advertisers. And there's no listener out there that does not want to realize the fact that when you end up with the majority of the income that's coming into a newspaper or a station from the grocery or meat industry, that combine that's out there, they really roll over and favor them, and there's no doubt, because I don't think anybody travels around to more radio stations than I do, and I see that happening all the time. We got to make sure that stations like WBAI remain out there so that people can get the other side of the issue.
Yeah, I also want to say that I think it's particularly important to have shows like Shelton's, because unfortunately I've been a little disappointed in this country with the left in terms of the failure of the left to pick up the animal issue and vegetarianism as a political issue. I mean, putting aside the health aspects of it, I mean, the reality is it takes between 8 and 12 pounds, and Howard probably knows the conversion ratios better than I do, in terms of how much grain it takes to produce 1 pound of flesh. And the fact is, people in the West eat more meat in a week than most people in the third world eat in a year. And I've been really disappointed with how, for example, I think within the Pacifica network, I don't think there's any other show on socialist ecology anywhere. Is there, Shelton?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's important to recognize it's not just a wonderful feature of public radio that we're having a discussion like this, because it's because of people like Shelton who are trying to convince other progressives that what we put in our mouths and our diet is a political issue as well as everything else.
Well, if we look at the United States, 16 pounds of grain is stuffed down the throat of an animal to end up putting a pound of meat on your plate.
Is that cows, Howard, or is that
that's cows?
Yeah.
And it takes that 16 pounds of grain would feed 32 individuals,
Yeah.
or basically one large talk show host. But
I've been saying in England lately that BSE is a golden opportunity to change our agricultural policy radically. And what I've been suggesting to government and at various conferences on the issue is that all the subsidy is taken away from the meat and dairy and given to horticulture, and let the meat and dairy products find their own market level. Then they would in fact be luxury foods, which people would have much more seldom than they do now.
Well, if you took away the subsidies in this country in terms of the public land subsidies that we give, and if in fact the consumers were paying what, if all of the costs, if all of the opportunity costs were included in the price of a pound of beef, and there were no governmental subsidies, depending on what studies you look at, beef would range from like $48 to $56 a pound. Yeah. But in any event, it would be a lot more expensive than it is now, because it's cheap because of these federal subsidies. We are subsidizing,
which the taxpayer is paying.
Exactly,
and we are paying to have food which is high in fat, which makes us ill. Yes. I mean, it's an Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
212-279-3400. By the way, it's $125. You can get this book, The Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism by Colin Spencer, who's on the line with us from London. For $125, you get the tape of today's program. Plus, we'll be joined later on by Pamela Rice, who is a vegetarian activist here, and she'll be offering her 101 ways to become a vegetarian. 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. The lines have been silent for the last several minutes. We got a flurry. We want you to call right now. This is your last opportunity to get this package during this membership drive.
Why don't you throw in an autographed picture of yourself, Shelton?
Well, I don't know. Well, that might cause some people to take away their membership, 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. Support WBAI, support listener-sponsored community radio in New York City as we talk about mad cow disease and food disparagement laws and vegetarianism. 212-279-3400. We want to see some lines light up here. Again, you get this book. It's a great book. Looks at the history from prehistoric times into the present on vegetarianism and how vegetarians have been considered the oddballs, the heretics of history, if you will. But actually, the concept of vegetarianism is sound and is proven and is extremely valid. And maybe the world is starting to change a little bit through the help of people like Gary Francione and Howard Lyman and Colin Spencer. 212-279-3400. So give us a call right now. Make a pledge to WBAI, listener-sponsored community radio.
Isn't that interesting when you end up with people that are looked at as being oddballs like Einstein and Gandhi? It really makes you wonder which group you want to stand with. It's a chance for the people out there right now to pick up their phones and vote with their dollars. Make sure that we have the history of coming back next year and having a station like this that we can end up with a conversation. When Gary said that the left had dropped the ball, I'd like to say that I think that the left got up and left. And we really, somebody said, wouldn't it be nice if we had another political party? And somebody said it'd sure be nice to have two.
How true, Howard. How very true.
212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. Make a pledge to WBAI. We have some people who have pledged the support. Thank you, Serene. We have Joseph Thompson from Chester, New York. He's made a $150 pledge to WBAI. Thank you so much. We have a Barry Heffernan from Long Island City, thank you. Christopher Ronk from Roslyn Heights, thank you. Jessica Crawford from Brooklyn, New York, thank you. And Christian Nafe from Bronxville, New York. All made pledges to WBAI Radio, and they're getting they're becoming members of WBAI for $125. However, you can become a member, and you get the package we're offering this afternoon, the Heretic's Feast, a history of vegetarianism, plus the table of today's program. You will hear from Howard Lyman, from Gary Francione, from Colin Spencer, from Shirley Dumas, who was talking earlier about the taking away of the unbelievable power of the state in taking away her children because she is a vegetarian. 212-279-3400. That's what's happening in this country right now. We have two people on the line. Make it a third person. Make it a third person right now. Call right now. You know you don't hear this type of programming anywhere else. And we have Howard Lyman in the studio, who made it up from the Oprah Winfrey Show, where he caused quite a ruckus in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I mean, the value of this Mercantile Exchange dropped, and it was a story that appeared all around the world. My goodness, you really caused again cattlemen to tremble and markets to shake.
Well, it just gives you some idea of how fragile it is out there when good old common sense will prevail and people look at it and say, gee, I didn't know that. But ask yourself, how many people do you know that realize that 14% of all cows today are ground up and fed back to cows? Even when I ended up with commissioners of agriculture around the country that were basically saying, oh, well, they're not doing that. Most of them are totally unaware that we end up with things like, roadkills that are turned in. If you take right now in Montana, where you see that the buffalo are coming out of Yellowstone Park and they're being slaughtered by the state, I don't know for sure, but I'll bet you that they're probably grinding them up and turning them into feed and feeding them back to other animals. So it's not what we know that gets us in trouble, it's what we know that isn't so. And I think a good way of getting information out to people is things like public radio. Get on the phone, call in, become a member, and make sure that we have this opportunity in the future.
212-279-3400. That's the voice of Howard Lyman, ex-Montana cattle rancher. He has turned vegan activist, and he's also head of the Voice for a Viable Future. We have 5 people on the line right now. 212-279-3400. Make it a 6th and a 7th person. Call right now. You can get the package that we're offering this afternoon. We're offering the book, A Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism by Colin Spencer. It's a great book. It looks at the story of vegetarianism since prehistoric times, looking at prominent and colorful believers like Leonardo da Vinci, Sir Thomas More, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Paine, Tolstoy, Shaw, Gandhi, and looking at vegetarianism through world history, a history that you don't hear about. You don't hear about the history of diet and non-meat eating. You usually hear from the point of view, as Colin Spencer said, of the carnivores. 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now, and you can get that book. And also on the line joining us is, Pamela Rice, who is the head of the Viva Veggie Society. She also has put out a pamphlet for the last several years called 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian. Pamela Rice, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi.
How are you?
I'm just fine.
And the people are calling in. Thank you so much. Pamela, tell us about this pamphlet, because I see it all around, and people are. This is very encouraging to people when they see these reasons that you've listed here. But why did you pick these reasons? Why 101 reasons? Why not 10 reasons? Why not 20 reasons?
Well, actually, I probably could have made about 1,000 reasons. I had to cut back. They're not categorized. It's straight through, 1 through 101. They all come under the category of vegetarianism, which encompasses environmental problems with the meat-centered diet, and health problems, certainly with the meat-centered diet. I touch on global problems of the threat of more hunger around the world. In fact, right now, I'd like to mention for people that the Business Week that's on the stands right now did a whole story about grain shortages that are coming up, largely because the rest of the world is taking on the Western meat-centered diet, and our grain supplies are down to 48 days, our worldwide grain supplies. And this is all because we're feeding grain to animals. 50% of all grain around the world and 70% of all the grain in this country goes to feed animals, so we can eat them.
Well, Pamela, you know, you and I have been good friends for a long time, and I've carried the 101 reasons around. The interesting thing is, for the listeners that are out there, just to have that in your hand and just to read it when somebody says to you, you know, he says, well, doggone it, we could feed the rest of the people in the world if they only had some money. Well, you know, if we put near as much emphasis on feeding people as we do protecting the oil coming into this country, we would feed a lot of people, and we could take right now cutting back the meat consumption in the United States by 10%, just cutting 10% of the meat consumption in the United States, we could feed every starving person in the world today. That gives you some idea of the things that are in the 101 reasons. I think every person out there listening ought to have it in their hands, because it'll really shock you.
Pamela, I hope that, Shelton, you've told folks that they can get a copy of the 101 Reasons through WBAI.
Yes, we can.
Because I haven't been really listening up until now.
I'm sorry,
have you been telling people?
We told them briefly, but we'll tell it again.
Good.
You can get, as part of this package right now, you can get the 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian by Pamela Rice and the Viva Veggie Society. This is part of the package that we're offering, as well as the book, The Heretic's Feast, and you also get a tape of today's program. This is a great package and a great bargain for $125. Become a member of WBAI Radio, 212-279-3400. Pamela, could you give us a couple of reasons why they should become a vegetarian?
Well, okay. Here's a big one. Number 49 is one of my favorites, 45 rather. Of all the antibiotics administered in the U.S. to people or farm animals receive over 95% of them. Not so much to treat infection, but to make the animals grow faster on less feed. And so you may think to yourself, well, my mind, isn't the USDA not allowing this? No. Antibiotics not only make the animals grow faster, it also allows industry to be able to put animals in this very intense confinement. And intense confinement means animals in cages basically the size of their own body. And you say, well, how can industry do that, for that matter? And it gets back to the initial problem here, and that is that there are no laws to protect animals used for food or fiber in this country. Virtually none. There are a few here and there. And just the fact that we have an Animal Welfare Act, which a lot of people are probably familiar with, we have something along those lines, an Animal Welfare Act. People probably think that it covers all animals, but no, not the case. It doesn't cover animals, those animals that are part of any kind of commercial concern, and certainly when you're talking about food production, anything having to do with money, then those animals are not covered. And
the Animal Welfare Act, as Professor Francione knows, is very ineffective right now. Doesn't do much of it.
It's completely useless. There are laws that require, for example, that animals being shipped to slaughter are provided with water periodically. There are laws that supposedly ensure that animals are slaughtered humanely, but as anyone who's ever been to a slaughterhouse knows, the whole concept of humane slaughter is ridiculous.
Well, there is no such thing.
That's from the beginning. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, there is no such thing as humane slaughter. If there really was, we'd have people out there lining up to partake of it. There is no such thing as humane slaughter, period.
Give us one more reason, Pamela.
Let's see here. All right, here's a good one. Number 83. The American farmer, as our storybook image of him suggests, simply no longer exists. Today, the person who actually gets close to farm animals is just a hired hand of agribusiness. In the broiler or layer shed of tens of thousands of birds, for instance, the main job to attend to is culling dead birds from the cages. Through careful calculations, conditions are maintained intense enough to keep costs down, but not so intense that mortality rates cut into profits.
There you go.
There's another aspect of the
Colin Spencer.
antibiotics given to animals, which is that the bugs are becoming antibiotic resistant. So here in chickens we have a Salmonella typhimurium, which cannot be killed off at all. And it's highly infective. And so people go down and become ill, and a few actually die from it. So it's not just CJD, it's other things that you can get from these animals who are held in such intensive farming conditions.
Well, it's an interesting thing. A few years ago, the first time we found a thing that was called E. coli 0157H7,
Yes.
and it was very, very rare. I just happened to read a study. Some station went out, got 5 samples of hamburger. 3 of the 5 had E. coli 0157H7 in it. USDA said 500 children in the United States died of it last year. It is growing, and it is not diminishing, and the problem is that we are not making our food safer. We are just producing more and more all the time.
Yes.
And by the way, that 500 figure deaths, USDA Secretary Dan Glickman even says this straight out. So I might mention that a lot of my information comes right from the United States government.
We're talking with Pamela Rice of the Viva Veggie Society.
You got it.
And she is the author of the 101 Ways Why I'm a Vegetarian. And we're pitching right now. We're asking you to support WBAI, listener-sponsored radio, 212-279-3400. If you call right now, you get part of this package for $125, a copy of 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian, the 1996 edition by Pamela Rice of the Viva Veggie Society, which is located here in Manhattan. And Pamela has been a long-time vegetarian activist. You probably have seen her on the streets with a hat full of vegetables.
That's right.
And spreading the good word about vegetarianism. And you can get her pamphlet, 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian. We also have Howard Lyman in studio. He'll be part of the tape, audio tape, as well as Professor Gary Francione and author Colin Spencer, who is on the phone with us from London. And his book, of course, is called A Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism, and we're offering that as part of this $125 package. 212-279-3400. The lines seem to drop off, and folks, we really want you to call. I cannot stress how important it is that you show support for a program like this. There's no other program on radio that talks about animal rights. There's no other program that talks about that would have on the discussion that we're having about food disparagement. There's no other program that would talk about vegetarianism. We talk about it sometimes from health point of view, we take all kinds of different angles. But this program, at least, we get to the heart of the matter, and we try to figure out what is happening to animals, the rights of animals, the rights of animals to be. We have a former cattle rancher right here, Howard Lyman, 4th-generation cattle rancher, who's been telling us about the terrible injustices that go on in factory farming, and how we can change from eating animals to a more humane and healthy lifestyle. And it helps our planet. As you can see, we only have 48 days of grain left in storage. And just imagine if we had all that grain to help feed people. Maybe our hunger situation in this world would be eliminated. Who knows? Maybe this grain would go to soy and to vegetables and to fruits instead of reprocessing it through animals. 212-279-3400.
Shelton,
yes.
I'd like to say that, of course, WBAI is doing so much to publicize this kind of information. But I do think that people need to become activists. We need to discover what vegetarian advocacy even is. We have to become a constituency, I believe, we vegetarians. And I might, if I may, mention that the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest comes up every year on the 4th of July.
Oh, yes.
And the Viva Veggie Society will be out there with a flyer called "What is a Hot Dog," which is kind of sickeningly amusing. And last year we got CNN coverage, and I think that we need to have a good 30 people out there distributing this and making, because a lot of media goes out there, and a lot of times you just got to get some media.
212-279-3400. Howard, you were just talking about what was in a hot dog.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, Howard.
You know, if the listeners out there would realize that every time you take out your wallet and you spend $1, you're voting on the future. What kind of a future do you want? Do you want more grain fed to animals? Do you want more hungry people? Or do you want a more humane society? Do you want where we pay attention to feeding people, not grinding up animals, feeding them back to other animals? If there is going to be a change, and there must be a change, I believe it has to come from every individual that's out there, that when you pull out your wallet and you decide to spend your money, are you going to spend it on something that's going to make the world a better place to live? Are you part of the problem? Are you part of the solution? Part of the solution, in my opinion, today is get on board. Become a supporter of WBAI. Call in today. Buy the package. Each of us doing a little bit can probably make this world a whole lot better than what it is. And it isn't whether we are the ones that make the solution. Are we part of the solution or part of the problem?
212-279-3400. Please call now. You hear Howard Lyman on BAI. The phones, by the way, have dropped off again. So some of you have been enjoying the information that you've been listening to. But now's the time to register your vote. Register with your vote through your dollars to support listener-sponsored community radio in New York City. 212-279-3400. I see one call on the line right now. Make it a second. I want to thank a lot of the people who have called in already. I don't know... you might be going home right now. You might be on your way home or heading home. Stop off by a payphone. Make a pledge if you're listening in your car. 212-279-3400. I see two people on the line right now. Make it a second. Make it a third person. Again, for $125, you get the package, the book, A Heretic's Feast by Colin Spencer. Also, 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian by Pamela Rice. You'll be hearing the tape of Professor Gary Francione speaking about food disparagement. You'll be hearing Howard Lyman talking about mad cow disease and the dangers of our agricultural system. 212-279-3400. I'm telling you, this is a great package, folks. I mean, you can share it with a loved one, share it with a friend, share it with a judge even, 212-279-3400. As I have all this... literature here. I was looking, Howard, at and please keep calling, 212-279-3400. We're not stopping pledging right now, folks. You think we're going to talk a bit. No, we're not talking. We're not going to ease up on you because you have been kind of slow this afternoon to get off the mark. And this is life-saving information, folks. I mean, where else can you hear? I mean, how often you hear Howard Lyman on the radio talking about this? I mean, he's heard in other cities, but how often does he come here to talk about it? I cannot tell you.
And how much longer will he be coming to talk about it if the Texas Agricultural Commissioner has his way?
That's right. I mean, that's right.
Put you away, Howard.
Hey, have you arrested right now, Howard? I don't know.
At least they know where I am.
You're at WBAI.
The meat police will come and drag Howard away.
That's right. 212-279. I mean, again, Howard, I cannot tell you how many people I've run into who said, "Hey, I saw Howard Lyman on TV on Oprah Winfrey. I couldn't believe it." Now I'm thinking about changing my eating, my lifestyle. You had a powerful effect on people because you've reached a lot of people who really, had no conception of this. They had no idea where this meat's coming from, or had no idea what was in the meat, or what the process it took to bring meat to their dinner table.
Well, I would say to everybody that's listening out there right now, there is absolutely no doubt that you can end up living longer and better. In your lifetime, you are going to end up spending enough money to buy a luxury automobile. The question is, you're going to buy it for yourself, you're going to buy it for your doctor. You're the one that can make that determination on what it is you put on your fork. The fork is the most dangerous weapon in the arsenal of the Homo sapiens. We're digging more graves with our fork than anything else that's out there. For the folks that are out there right now, this is reversible. You can change from a lifetime of bad habits. You can go out there right now, make a change, and you can end up in better shape. They ended up with a test out in San Francisco where they took people that were too sick for open heart surgery. Can you imagine somebody that is too sick, they can't put them in an operating room and remove $55,000 out of their back pocket? And they took those people and put them on a vegan diet, exercise, and ended up teaching them how to meditate. The oldest one was over 90 years of age.
Wow.
And today he's out playing tennis. You can reverse it, what you're doing with your fork. Get on board, educate yourself, make a change. It'd be the greatest thing you've ever done for yourself.
212-279-3400. Pamela Rice, we're going to have to let you go.
Okay.
But
Thanks so much, Shelton. And folks, get out there and pledge for WBAI.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Okay, that's Pamela Rice of the Viva Veggie Society. We're offering her 101 ways to become a vegetarian. 212-279-3400. Howard, you may be saddened to note that they've just opened up a McDonald's coffee shop at one of the hospitals here in Manhattan, at Harlem Hospital. And it's the first McDonald's at a hospital in this area. Apparently, they're around the country. And I talked with some people up there, and they said that, well, McDonald's made the best bid for a coffee shop there, and they promised that they would have healthy food at this McDonald's.
Well, I've even seen it where they have McDonald's and fast food in high schools.
Really?
So it's something out there that when you really take a look at it, where right now in the school lunch program in the U.S., about 48% of the calories that are going into the school lunch program today are coming from fat. We are the most obese nation on the face of the earth. This is not happening accidentally. This is what we're doing with our fork. And until we educate those kids out there and the difference between what they're putting in their body, can you realize that a 5-year-old child on a standard American diet has already lost 20% of their circulatory system from saturated fat and cholesterol? A graduating high school student, 17, 18 years old, 40% of their circulatory system lost to saturated fat and cholesterol. We can do better than that, but if we're going to do it, you have to start out doing it with education. You have to have a media like what we have right now of going out and telling people, what are the alternatives, because you're sure not getting that in the commercial media out there today.
212-279-3400. We want to get some more. We'd like to have some more calls. Please call right now. Support WBAI, listener-sponsored community radio in New York City. Where else can you hear this type of program, folks? You really can't hear it anywhere else but right here on BAI. Very privileged to be here, to have the opportunity to share this information with you. Privileged to have Howard Lyman, and of course, always weekly with Professor Gary Francione, animal rights of the Animal Rights Law Center in New Jersey, the only law center of its kind in this country, and a look at cases, litigate cases on animal rights law, and really it's pioneering work that they do at the law center there in Newark, New Jersey. He and his partner, Professor Anna Charlton. And
Sean, what's sort of interesting about that clinic is, every semester we have our students that come in, and most of them are not vegetarians. As a matter of fact, almost none of them is a vegetarian when they come in. And over the course of the semester, one of the things that they do learn is how the meat that they eat gets to their table. And it is remarkable. Our students at Rutgers are tremendously bright, gifted people. They're really terrific students and very well educated, yet most people, even very well-educated people, don't know how meat is produced. They don't understand the process from beginning to end. They don't understand how animals are treated. They don't understand the environmental consequences involved. And it's really important that people educate themselves, and I think Howard put his finger on it before. Education is crucial. Education is vital. The system doesn't want you to learn this information because it will govern your choices. So as a result, our popular media never tells us anything about this. I mean, I didn't know anything about how animals were raised for food until I was well in my 20s and was exposed to it by going and visiting a slaughterhouse at the urging of a friend when I was in law school. Up to that point, I knew nothing about how animals were raised or how animal food was produced. Most of us don't know. Most people eat meat every day of their lives, yet most people don't know where slaughterhouses are located. They know nothing about the process of meat production. It's very important that people understand that what they're doing is eating a living being, a living sentient being, and a living being that has been fed an awful lot of garbage in order to get that animal to the proper market weight. And they're eating those animals. They're eating tumors in chickens. I mean, you know, the people who eat chicken, who think chicken is a safe food. I have a lot of friends who say, I don't eat beef anymore. I know it's bad for you, but I eat chicken. and I can only tell those people, go to a chicken slaughterhouse, and you will see a United States Department of Agriculture inspector who stands there, who watches hundreds of chickens go by him or her every minute, and has no ability whatsoever to. I mean, it's impossible. No human being could do that. And you know, a huge number of chickens that you can take randomly from any slaughterhouse have tumors in them. People are eating tumors in chickens. Every day that they eat chicken, they're eating tumorous tissue. And, you know, people don't realize that. They don't realize how their food is produced. And it's very, very important that they do educate themselves and that they do they do get information, which they can't very, very readily get in traditional media sources.
Interesting thing, about 86% of the chicken inspectors say that they would not touch chicken with a 10-foot pole. Gary, the interesting thing you're talking about, the students, T. Colin Campbell, who is up at Cornell University, told me one time, he said, you know, 10% of our nutrition students come into Cornell as vegetarians, but when they graduate, 50% of them are vegetarian. He ran the largest dietary study in the world called the China Project. I would say that anybody ever gets an opportunity to see T. Colin Campbell speak, they ought to go. The guy is an absolute treasure, and you know, I just can't imagine how lucky New York is to have a man of that quality around.
212-279-3400, the voice of Howard Lyman and Gary Francione. Colin Spencer, we haven't forgotten about you there.
No.
We want to say something?
Well, yes, there was something about world hunger I wanted to say.
Okay, but before you speak, I just want to say to the audience that the phone calls have dropped off a bit here. We want you to continue to call in 212-279-3400. We want to hear from Colin Spencer in a minute, but first, folks, we want to thank Matthew from Rockaway, New Jersey. We want to thank you very much for making a pledge. 212-279-3400, getting the package, $125 package. The book, The Heretic's Feast, we'll hear from Colin Spencer in a moment. And 101 ways to become a vegetarian. You'll get that as part of the tape, and the package here. Marianne from Brewster, New York. Thank you so much. $125. 212-279-3400. Please call. One person online. Come on, folks. You gotta call up now.
Those of you who are meat eaters, please call right away, because you could be dead of a heart attack in the next half an hour. So please call and pledge now before you die.
That's right. Don't forget to call. That's George Clark from Corona, New York. He's getting the package. 212-279-3400. Arthur from Babylon, New York. Thank you so much. Making a donation to WBAI. 212. Come on, folks. You got to call here, folks. Nisim from Brooklyn, New York is making a pledge. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jillian from Little Silver, New Jersey. Thank you so much. 212-279-3400. Stephen from Manhattan here. Thank you so much. 212-279-3400. Joseph from Plainfield, New Jersey. 212-279-3400. Palmer from Queens, New York. Thank you so much. 212-279-3400. 5 people online. Come on, folks. You got to call now before 6 o'clock. Howard Lyman is leaving out here. The Amtrak is going to take him away from us, and he'll be swept away. We don't know when he'll come back. Next thing you know, you never know. We got to make sure we hold on to Howard, because the authorities are looking for him. You know what I mean? Troy from New York. Thank you so much. And Stephanie from Haverstraw, New York. 212-279-3400. Come on, folks. 6 people on the line. Don't keep calling now. Colin Spencer, you want to say something?
Yes. I was going to say that there's a particular statistic which I think is really horrifying, which is that the ordinary broiler chicken that lives just for 7 weeks gets nutritionally a better feed than 60% of the world's population. And the thought that we actually feed the livestock better than we feed our own human brothers is, to me, deeply shocking.
Yeah, but those are third world people, though. I mean, we don't care about them.
Yeah,
That's
this country doesn't care about them.
Developing countries, yes. But actually, you have a poor, and we have a great poor, too. What we give our poor is fatty, over-refined food, heavy in salt and sugar and saturated fats. That's pretty disgusting, too, and that's killing them off.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, most people do not realize that we are all in the same boat. We happen to be on planet Earth, and just to think that the other end of the boat is going to sink and we're not going to go down with it. I heard a lecture last night by Dr. Marlo Morgan, who wrote the book Mutant Messages Down Under. She said something that was really shocking to me. She said that in Australia, the temperature has gone up 5 degrees in 1 year because of the hole in the ozone layer. It is now required for Caucasian children in Australia, they have to wear a hat because of skin cancer. The amount of skin cancer has gone up 5 times in 1 year. I read a statistic the other day that said 100% of the Australians over the age of 45 have cancer today. This is happening around the world, folks.
Yes.
When that end of the boat goes down, we're going to end up going down with it. It's about time that we wake up to the fact that what we're doing to the environment with the way we're producing our food is an absolute disaster. You have an opportunity right now to call so that at least we have the opportunity to get the word out. Can you imagine where we would be without this opportunity?
Come on, folks. We have one line open, 2 lines open right now. 212-279-3400. The eloquent voice of Howard Lyman, and also from Professor Gary Francione and Colin Spencer. 212-279-3400. Again, you get Colin Spencer's book, The Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism, from prehistoric times until the present. It's a 300-plus page book looking at the history of vegetarianism, and you can get it with part of a donation to WBAI for $125. You also get 101 reasons why I'm a vegetarian by the Viva Veggie Society, put out by Pamela Rice, who was just with us. And also, you get the audio tape of today's program, 212-279-3400. And, of course, you become a member of WBAI, listener-sponsored community radio, so we can continue to bring you on Walden's Pond every week looking at animals, animal rights, a controversial subject. A lot of people don't want to even think about the rights of animals. Why do animals have a right to be here? We have a right to eat them. That's what the prevailing sentiment is, that we have a right to eat anything that comes in front of us, sometimes people, too. Anyway, 212-279-3400. That's very interesting. 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. So, we don't want to delve into cannibalism here. I read...
Jeffrey Dahmer was not a vegetarian.
No?
No.
Well, he may have thought he was. I don't. I mean, he was. He thought a lot of parts were very tasty. Leg and foot and everything else.
Can I ask Colin a question? He made a point before I thought was very interesting, that vegetarianism and religious heresy were connected. Can you speak to that for a moment? I think that's a very interesting idea.
Yes.
Please keep calling 212-279.
One of the interesting things, it stems actually from something that's just been said. The right to eat meat stems from Genesis. After in Genesis, the world begins as a herbivore paradise. Eden is vegetarian, the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve, and there's no carnivore animals in it. But after the flood, meat-eating starts. And God actually says to Noah, I give you dominion over the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air and the fish in the sea. And this was used throughout Christianity, as Christianity colonized the world, as a reason for eating meat. It was thought to be a pious act. You are praising God by eating meat, which is why the Sunday joint after the service had such a symbolic place in the family.
But Colin, how did that happen? Because if we were if before humans had the breach with God or whatever, I'm not a religious person, so I'm not very familiar with all that. But before the breach of the covenant occurred, people were not eating meat, and then after the breach occurs, then violence becomes you see fratricide, you see the eating of meat, etc. How did it become associated with piousness when the whole act of meat eating comes about only as a result of not being faithful to the covenant with God.
The point is that the idea of the golden age of everything being peaceful appears in all religions, does it not?
Right.
And so you get the break happening after the flood. The feeling of piety comes later, after the Renaissance. You get the early church fathers who were all vegetarian. St. Paul, of course, being an Orthodox Jew, was influenced very much by the Old Testament. And he, in fact, never becomes a vegetarian or never associates non-meat eating with spirituality. But the other church fathers do. So you get in Christianity the idea of the fast. But the heretics not eating meat were, or the vegetarians being heretics, were the outsiders to religion.
In your book, do you discuss the recent scholarship that opines that Jesus, being a Nazarene, was a vegetarian?
I touch upon it. The Gnostic Gospels give this other picture of the teacher of righteousness, which is a teacher which is much nearer to Buddhism. And this seems to me very acceptable, because I think the ideas between the Middle East and the East were being traded as well as silks and other goods. Ideas were being traded as well.
But weren't a lot of those early Jewish mystical sects, isn't it historically shown that they were in fact vegetarians?
Yes, that's true. Yes. Manichaeism, for instance, which was the most hated heresy of the whole of Christianity, they were vegetarian. They didn't touch meat or milk. Most of those vegetarian sects were, in fact, vegan.
212-279-3400. You're hearing from Colin Spencer, author of The Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism, and Professor Gary Francione, professor of law at Rutgers University in Newark, and also co-director of the Animal Rights Law Center in Newark, New Jersey at Rutgers University. Howard Lyman in the studio with me. We have only about 10 more minutes here in this program, and I really feel sort of nervous because a little anxious about the response to the program today. We appreciate all the people who called, but I know there's so many people out there who've been sitting by the phone enjoying this program this afternoon, and not making the commitment that we need here. And this is a very rare opportunity to have all these people with us through these airwaves to join us and to share information with you. And if you don't appreciate this, if you're not willing to support this type of radio, we're not going to be here. This program will simply cease to exist. They'll say, well, Howard Lyman, we don't want him on the air anymore. We don't want Shelton talking about these issues anymore. They're too... no support, no interest in these things. 212-279-3400. Show your support for these issues. We're talking about food disparagement. That means that you and Howard or Gary or Colin or myself, at a point we'll be sued for saying, hey, McDonald's, they're not selling a healthy product over there. They're selling this new, Howard, you heard about this new Arch Burger.
Oh, absolutely.
What is this Arch Burger? Someone called it artery clogging hamburger the other day,
I heard it was a cholesterol burger, but I'm not sure.
What is an Arch Burger? I haven't heard.
I heard it was a cholesterol burger, but I'm not really sure about that. That Sheldon, here's what I would say to the listeners that are out there right now. The management at this station definitely looks at the money that comes in from the shows that are on there, and they gauge the support that's out there. I would hate to see the time that there was not a Walden's Pond, that we were not bringing these issues up, because it isn't like, well, there are 7 other shows just like this every week that are on. This is the show that is out there basically saying to people, let's talk about the issue of diet and animal rights, and let's bring in some of the people that are out there stirring the pot. When I was on the Oprah show and the futures market goes limit down, that means that people were out there and they were listening, 20 million of them. Let's make sure that we end up with those number of years that are out there that have the opportunity. There are 20 million people that are listening to Walden's Pond right now. This is important. Get on your phone, pick it up, make a call, vote on what kind of programming you want in the future. Do you want some more crazies like Gary and myself and Colin that are out there that are basically saying, look, there are alternative ways. I was out there. I was a carnivore. I'm telling you right now, if I hadn't changed, I'd be dead today. I would not be here. I lost over 100 pounds. My cholesterol went from over 300 to 135. Wow. My blood pressure was sky high. Today it is normal. What I'm saying to the listeners out there right now is not something that I got out of a book. I was one of the biggest carnivores that you ever met. Had I not changed, Sheldon, I would not be here. I would be in Forest Lawn. And I know how to tell a good day. You get up in the morning, you run to the front door, you grab the newspaper, you check. If you're not on the obituary page, man, it's a great day. Let's go out there. Let's enjoy life, because what it's about is about learning. It's about moving forward, doing those things that we believe are correct. And one of the things that you can do right now, pick up your phone, call in, let the station management here know that you want to hear more programs like Walden's Pond. This is your opportunity to vote right now, and you can do it by picking up your phone right now. We are sitting here. We have people that can answer the phone immediately. Make the call now.
Thank you very much, Howard. 212-279-3400. That's the best testimony I've ever heard on BAI for a program and for the station. And please give us a call right now. 212-279-3400. Give us a call right now. Support WBAI. Support listener-sponsored radio. Make sure a program of this nature stays on BAI and on radio, in media, giving us an access, giving us an outlet for free speech to be able to talk freely about these issues of concern to all of us on this planet, regardless of who you are. We all have to do one thing every day. We eat. 212-279-3400. We have a few minutes left here. We only have about 5 minutes left. We only have about 4 phone calls here, 3 or 4 phone calls. It's been kind of slow here, folks. You got to respond. I mean, if you can't respond to Howard Lyman, I don't know who you're going to respond to. I mean, the only thing we can get in here is, I don't know, I guess we have to show them the picture of a clogged artery before people will actually see.
The next time I'm coming, I'm bringing Oprah with me, and that's the only way about it. And happens to be a very close friend of mine right now. And, it was an interesting thing after I talked to her on her show. She basically said on air, she said, I will never again eat a hamburger. The beef industry went and asked her if she would withdraw that statement. She said, absolutely not. She says, I believe that Lyman guy is right. Wow. I will not eat a hamburger. Can Oprah be wrong? Absolutely not.
Do you know if she's sticking to that?
Oh, I have no doubt about it. I'm telling you, the one nice thing, Sheldon, about Oprah is, you see all of these famous people and you always wonder, what are they really like?
Sure.
And I'll tell you right now, she is one of the most wonderful, warmest people. She is the most open with her audience that I've ever seen. She was not one of these ego freaks, that came in and zipped out. She was there, she stayed, she talked to people. She is a very wonderful, warm person. 2 things she told me. 5 times she saw Babe, she said, never again will I eat pork. And she said on the air, I will never again eat a hamburger. I totally believe her.
Wow. Well, we only have a few minutes left.
And you can rest assured, though, that the meat industry will do whatever it can to ensure that her contract doesn't get renewed. And that's the interesting thing about this is, in many ways, the whole vegetarianism issue is probably one of the most subversive of all issues that we are, discussing. A place like WBAI discusses a wide range of issues. The issue that is probably most threatening to the establishment is the whole issue of vegetarianism, because the meat industry is the largest industry in the world, and when we make the comments that we're making today, and when things happen like Oprah Winfrey declaring her vegetarianism or whatever, it has a profound effect and a very scary. It has a very these people get very, very anxious and concerned about it, and that's why we're seeing laws like product disparagement laws. It's a reaction of a frantic group of corporate government people who are very, very concerned about their feudal control over what what we eat being loosened. But I agree with what Howard said. It's imperative to support shows like Walden's Pond. I would suspect most of the people over there at WBAI are meat eaters, so you're probably in hostile territory there, Mr. Walden.
Well, we have some folks here who need to, I think they're on the path. And they are, we have some vegetarians here at the station. And we have quite a few meat eaters. But I think people are starting to change, and they own it. It says Lisa Joy White, who could not be with us today, would say that they're enjoying the journey, and I think they're on their journey that way, hopefully.
Well, Sheldon, when I was in the green room before we came on today, I was talking to a bunch of the volunteers that were here today. Now, they were not all vegetarian, but I'll tell you what, every one of them was interested in what we were talking about.
Right.
And ask yourself the question, which is it that is fringe? The person that eats a tomato or the one that eats flesh? Which one really is fringe?
That's true. By the way, speaking about Oprah, and we only have 2 minutes left here, that the following week, she had a show which excluded you from the program. They just had the cattle industry on as a response to the effect that you had on that industry and on her audience. It was remarkable.
Yeah, it was also interesting that they ran the original show again. So it actually got shown twice. Or rather, an interesting thing. Most people don't realize that.
Well, it's 212-279-3400. We have one or two lines open here, folks. And again, for $125, you can get the package, the book, A Heretic's Feast, A History of Vegetarianism, plus 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian by the Viva Veggie Society and Pamela Rice. We have to get out of here in about 2 minutes. And I really don't want to go because we want the calls to keep calling 212-279-3400. I want to give an opportunity for our guests to give a final word in before we go on this program. Starting with you, Colin Spencer.
Yes. Well, I'm very impressed by what you're doing and everything that's been said. I'm longing to see this Oprah Winfrey show with Howard on it. We have her over here, of course, in the afternoons, but I don't think that's going to come yet. And you're doing a grand job.
Well, thank you, sir, and I look forward to. I'm in the middle of reading your book, I would say, and I've enjoyed it immensely. The portions I've read so far, and I look forward to reading the rest of it. And I hope that other people will pick up the book. It's a fascinating history, a history that we don't hear about, the history of diet and vegetarianism. And I want to thank you very much for contributing this book to our libraries.
Thank you.
And I hope to talk with you in the future.
Yeah.
When you come to the States.
I'm coming in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, I hope to see you then.
Okay.
Take care now.
Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Gary Francione.
Well, I've enjoyed being part of this show, and I do hope that people who are out there appreciate what you're doing. I know that I do, and many people in the Rutgers community are regular listeners of WBAI and of your show, and we appreciate what you're doing. Keep slugging. Keep going, Sheldon.
Well, thank you, Gary. And of course, Gary is a weekly commentator here on Walden's Pond and discussing animal rights and lots of other issues here. And thank you for being here today as well.
My pleasure.
Professor Gary Francione of the Rutgers Animal Rights Law Center. He's professor of law at Rutgers. And, of course, Howard Lyman in studio.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come, and I think that your program, Sheldon, is just one of the real outstanding lights of what we have that's going on. And I would say that this program would not be here if it was not for the listeners that are out there that are responding to it. Pick up the phone and call. The folks at this station need to know that you're out there, that you're paying attention, and that you're supporting it. And remember that when I'm in jail and Gary is bringing me a veggie burger, I will be listening to Walden's Pond.
Oh, no, that cannot happen. No, we'll do everything in our power to keep you away from the authorities. My goodness. Thank you very much, Howard Lyman, as always.
It's been a pleasure.
Howard Lyman, former Montana cattle rancher. You should be on the tourism guide for Montana. Pictures should be on there instead of some of those other notorious figures that we have out there right now.
I think it's in the post office right now.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Howard Lyman, and of course Professor Gary Francione and Colin Spencer. And earlier we heard from Shirley Dumas, the foster parent who's battling the child welfare agencies in Indiana, and Dr. Charles Atwood. I'm Shelton Walden. This has been Walden's Pond, special edition, Mad Cow edition of Walden's Pond for this 16th day of May 1996. Pleasure being with you, as always, and hope you will call and pledge your support to WBAI, listener-sponsored community radio in New York City at 212-279-3400. Again, you get the package for $125, the book, The History of Vegetarianism by Colin Spencer, 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian, and the tape of today's program. We have to go immediately to the WBAI Evening News, coming up in a matter of seconds right here over WBAI. Thank you for your support, and peace to all of you, and go vegan, please.